Is that it?
Well, yeah, but it closed out. Sorry,
Oh,
guys. Let's try one more time. Let's try one
oh,
more
there it
time.
goes.
Hallelujah. All right, here we go. We'll have to clip that one. The whole opening 3 minutes of that recording. So we're talking about one of my favorite topics tonight. That is embracing toughness through resilience. The skill, the mental skill that we're really going to be hitting in on and focusing on is growth mindset. And the reason why it's growth mindset, sometimes, guys, the most difficult skills are the simplest ones. And that is what we're going to be covering tonight. And you've likely already been introduced to growth mindset at some point, sometime throughout your educational journey. I know a lot of schools and school systems are really heavy banging the drum on growth mindset. And we're going to talk about the difference between the two, but also it's not just okay to just be pro growth mindset all the time. We got to have a little realism. We got to have a little honesty with ourselves. So I'm not on the camp of you have to only go to growth mindset because that's the only way. No, I think it's good to be honest and transparent with ourselves as much as well. So I love the iceberg. Success is like an iceberg, and I have this. I used this a long time ago, and I pulled it just for this presentation because it speaks to what we're going to be talking about. See, it's not just people criticize what happens on top. Think what happens on top is the outcome, the results, the things that you're judged on or critiqued on from outward objective standpoint. It's not only people see that and criticize it, it's mom and dad. They also see and criticize it. It's a coach that sees and criticizes it. It's a recruiting metric that sees and analyzes you. See, and I think the biggest one, I can't not mention it, is yourself. We also see and criticize ourselves and judge ourselves oftentimes harshly and unfairly based on the results and the success or failures of what's happened. But here's what a lot of people, including ourselves, we not only don't see, but we forget about. Oftentimes, it's the habits. What kind of habits have we developed or not developed? What about failure? How are we doing failure or risks? The late nights, early mornings, doubts, discipline, sacrifice, dedication, goals. There's so much to an athletic journey, and it's not even just athletes. It's success. You have a goal. I likely can apply this to that said goal as well. And the reason is we've got many opportunities for struggles, challenges, or setbacks to come in and distract us towards our purpose, towards our mission. And there's a lot of things that happen under the surface. Commonly said and referred, iceberg is 90% below surface. So if you got an iceberg that sticks out of the water 100 feet, it goes down 900 feet. There's a lot that happens under the water. There's a lot that happens under the surface in our journey. And that's part of the reason why I say it's not just our stance that we're going to say, we're going to take a blind oath and say all growth mindset all the time, no matter what. There's got to be some common sense thrown in here. So we're going to start off with this. And George, if you can, take care of the waiting room. So there's a difference between failing and failure. And we're going to define that, and we're going to understand the difference. So if you're taking notes, I would highly encourage you to write this down. Failing, how we're going to define it tonight, is an event. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Oftentimes an athlete, or oftentimes coaches or even teachers with good intentions, will label you missed the mark, you missed the opportunity, you missed said objective, and we classify it and stamp it as fail. Okay, well, there's some levels of truth to that. However, I want an athlete to understand it as this is an event. This is not a definition. This is not who we are. Just because you messed up, just because you made a mistake, just because we didn't win, just because negative things happen, negative consequences happen on the court, does that mean that we are a failure? No, it doesn't. The only true way, quote unquote, to be an actual legitimate failure is to quit, give up, and walk away. Is there times and place where perhaps that that's what we need to do. Yeah. If so, like, come talk to us and we can walk you through and guide you and give you some more specific coaching on how really best to handle tough situations like that. But we want athletes to really understand tonight that there is a big difference between viewing through the lens and the perspective of missed opportunities and missed moments. Okay. I think it's really easy for an athlete to practice a forehand, practice a serve, practice a specific, shot sequence, and then they get into the match and they don't practice anything like how they don't play anything like how they practiced all week. And we are sitting there wondering what happened. How is that possible? How, like, where did all our training go? Am I a failure? And I want to be very firm on this. No, you're not a failure. And perhaps you're a lot closer to success than what you actually realize. But you got to have the right mindset and the right perspective to help get you there to connect those dots towards the opportunities. And perhaps, hey, if you did fail in the match, are we willing to be objective and look at it and view it as opportunity to get better and learn? Or do we view it as, man, I guess that's all I have. That's all I have today. And man, I'm just terrible. We hear this a lot from athletes where they'll have missed moments and missed opportunities, and they will jump from one missed moment or a series of missed moments or one or two even bad matches or bad tournaments in a row, and they'll jump to the far worst possible conclusion. Well, I want to put a big pause and big stop button on that tonight. So again, we need to shift our perspective and we need to elevate it. It's not a definition. We cannot view failing or failed moments as a definition of who you are as a person. So how many of us have ever heard? Give me something in the chat if this is you, if you've heard this before, if mom or dad or a coach has reinforced this or said this before. Oh, life is like tennis, or tennis is like life. Oh, tennis can teach you so much about life. Give me a thumbs up or drop me something in the chat. Be like, yep, I've heard that before. And let me know, have you heard this before? Life is like a game of tennis. And the reason why we use those metaphors is sport at large is a great metaphor and a teacher for life. The reason is because you're constantly facing adversity and you're constantly facing struggles and failing moments. I almost said failure. Caught myself. We're facing constant failing moments, and it forces us to adapt, improvise, overcome, adjust, shift our focus, relearn, have to figure out what not to do. Like, guess what? These skills of what you're learning in tennis apply so much to prepare you into being a great human being and a better adult. The reason why is because you're experiencing these things at a young age that prepares you. And you're like, yeah, Trev, I know you're speaking to the choir, but like, this sucks. It really sucks sometimes. Yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you. I play college baseball. I've worked with a lot of athletes for very high levels, professional all the way down to amateur. I can attest to many examples of athletes, including myself, going through growing pains, tough moments. And if you go back to some of those toughest moments, and you probably just like myself, have moments, perhaps even recently, that you went through, or perhaps are going through. But go back to a few moments that you've went through in the last 6 months to a year. And with the right lens of focus and the right mindset, you'll look back and you'll appreciate those tough moments because it's prepared you to overcome the next difficult moments. And that's what we're building on. How to be resilient comes down to, can we view it with the right lens of focus? We got a few thumbs up. George, I'm not the only one. I'm glad. Glad I'm not the only one. Thinks life is just like tennis. So what is resilience? If you can, I'm going to pause for a second and I want you to drop in the chat, what is resilience to you? Take a shot at this definition. What is resilience to you? While you're doing that, I just thought of another thing I want to bring up and I want to share with you. This is something that George and I just spoke about the other day, and it's so applicable to what we're talking about. So if you can, drop in the chat, what is resilience to you? Define resilience. Take a shot. And do me a favor, do not go to Google. Or what's the AI tool that kids use now? Chat GPT. Don't use Chat GPT. No. Prohibited tonight. No. Those of you at home watching that are not on this call, they're watching the replay. Take a shot. What is resilience? Take a moment and actually write this down. If you can, drop it in the chat. Let's take at least one or two if we have. Awesome.
Nice.
So one of the ones that came in is resilience is to keep going and not giving up. Very good. And then somebody else mentioned recovering from the past and not giving up. There's a trend there, not giving up. Okay, here's how we're going to define resilience for tonight. Resilience is not about just when you get knocked down. It's about how quick you get back up and keep going. So I'm piggybacking off of what you both have said in chat, and that is about not giving up. Well, when you bounce a tennis ball, there's a natural bounce where that ball comes back up. A true mark of a mentally tough athlete is not the bounce in itself, it's how fast they bounce back, how quick they bounce back when adversity strikes, when tough moments happen. Let's use different language. When things just don't go their way. And if you're human, congrats. I believe you are. I don't think we have any cyborgs here, but if you're human, it is inevitable. Life or tennis or something is going to just flat go wrong at some point. It is inevitable. It's the part of the human experience. You're not made to be an automaton. So, you know, as well as I do, difficult things happen, but we need to be efficient with our mindset and our perspective to be able to bounce back when things happen. So I'm going to bring up a pair of sunglasses. George knows exactly where I'm going. So we're going to talk about core beliefs because that's kind of what we're talking about today. We're kind of talking about our core beliefs and shifting our mindset to be match tough. So we're going to walk through this situation, this scenario, and we're going to look at this, how beliefs are established. Because if you can challenge some of the inner beliefs that you have and view it through a different perspective, you are putting on a growth mindset and a mindset viewed as opportunity, growth, challenge, bring it on. So let's take a look at this situation. So the situation is you meet a new person, you think about saying, hey, let's go out for lunch, let's go out for dinner, let's hang out, if you're dating age, hey, let's go out on a date. If you're in school, it could be just another friend and be like, hey, I'm thinking about, seeing if they want to sit together at lunch. The core belief, there's two core beliefs that typically kick in. A core belief that some people will have, and they'll talk themselves out of these opportunities, is they'll think or say to themselves deep down, not just in their head, but deeper in their heart and their soul and their mind and their spirit. They'll say a little bit deeper and say, yeah, I just don't know if I'm worthy. Let me use a friendlier terminology. They may say, they might not like me. And then what's the consequence? The consequence that kicks in is a thought that says, why would they ever want to sit with me? Why would they ever even want to, I don't know, go out to lunch or go out and hang out? And the behavior is, well, we're just not, I'm just not going to hang out. I'm just not going to ask them. So we literally have talked ourselves out of an opportunity for them to even say yes or no. We don't even know. Now we put on a different pair of glasses, same situation, but you come with a different belief and a different mindset, a different perspective, a different view. And you come at it and you say to yourself, I'm worthy. You're like, hey, I think I'm cool. I think I'm good. I think I'm friendly. If they don't like me, I know I got other friends too. Or I know I have other opportunities. And we come at it with a different belief. The thought that comes next is, well, we might have fun, or hey, I might actually really get to know them and find out if they're nice. The behavior or the action is, yeah, you know what? Hey, George, hey, can I sit with you at lunch today? And at that point, George has an option. Yes or no. I'd be like, no, Trev, buzz off. And in that moment, I've got a choice. Do I view that through a growth opportunity and a growth mindset or a fixed mindset or negative mindset? Or George says, yeah, man, come on, come sit with us. Regardless, we have a choice in the perspective that we view events. And really, growth mindset is not just about controlling the thought narrative in our head, it's also about a little bit deeper. It's about how do you view yourself? So if we really want to become match tougher, we've got to get serious with the inner beliefs in us. And it's easy to just talk about, hey, think this, hey, think that. It's not as hard where we have to go where we not necessarily want to go. And that's deeper. That's in your core beliefs. Do you believe that you can actually improve or not? No amount of mental training that I can tell you is actually going to get you over that hump and hurdle. I'm sorry. It just isn't. Because at the core of it, I'm not on the court with you. I'm just not. I wish I was. I think I'd have a lot of fun. Probably more fun than you, but like at the core of it, I've said this to athletes for years. You are your own best mental coach. Not me, not George, not Dave on our team, not Jim Bob down the street, not Silly Sally that we may hire someday. It doesn't matter. You are your own best mental coach. And the reason why is because you're in your head 100% of the time. I get you for a brief moment. Your coach gets you, for an extended time, but you are your own best mental coach. So really, yeah, we can talk about fluff and mental training and doing this and do that, but really a lot of this growth mindset stuff comes down to your inner core beliefs. Do you actually believe that you have the ability to improve or not? And that's what resilience is about. Is about believing the fact that I can bounce back even when things say otherwise. Even when that iceberg, it's easy to get distracted by what's on top and even more distracted by tough things on the bottom. Resilience is so much more than just positive growth mindset tonight, guys. So I want you to hear that loud and clear from me. This is not your fluffy fluff kind of a conversation. So some of us are very well versed in fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Some of us are not. If you're not, no problem. If you are, no problem. I want you to literally take a moment. If you are on a phone, screenshot this. If you're taking notes, take at least 3 notes. And what I want you to do is I want you to star, highlight, circle, underline, I don't care, bold it. At least 2 of them that speaks the loudest to you. And it could be on the fixed side, it could be on the growth side. Doesn't matter. All this slide is for is an awareness. That's it. There is no quiz tonight. You're not going to be taking something to say, hey, which one are you? Are you fixed or you growth? Again, we're viewing things through transparency lens of, hey, if we're on fixed, can we choose to view things with a different perspective? If we're on growth, can we use it to pull some of our emotions and attitudes with us when we do get fixed sometimes, when we do get hard on ourselves sometimes? And by the way, I've been teaching this stuff since 2010. I literally had to use this on myself today. Today. You think it's easy building an app? No. You think it's easy trying to problem solve challenges all the time behind the scenes administratively because we're a small team? It's not easy. I literally had to get up from the computer today because I was struggling with something on the text settings. George has been struggling with something. Him and we talk on the phone. I could hear the frustration in his voice, and I had to remind him. I said, hey, whoa, we can learn. We can solve this together. It's okay. Take a deep breath. George, it's not you. And he's shaking his head, but like, seriously, this is straight up truth. We're trying to upload an MP3 file into the app. And if you get in the beta test on the app, on our new app, focus5.hm perform.com. All right. So I had to throw that in there. If you get in on that, you're going to see some of these audio files. Well, guess what? For some reason, the audio upload didn't work. Unbeknownst to us. We tried everything. Our developers were even a little bit slow to respond. And I said, George, We can solve this together. And you may roll your eyes and say, well, that's really not growth mindset. Yeah, well, it is, because the fix says, well, the heck with it. We give up. I'm frustrated. I give up. And remember, the true way to define failure is giving up. I am literally speaking on behalf of raw transparency. I had to use this on myself today. So if you ever think you've fully arrived, let me just share. You never have fully arrived. The mental game, guys, if you want to become a master at it, it is going to take a lifetime of just consistency and work. And hey, do we all have bad days? Yeah, us included as mental coach. We have those moments. But you got to keep going with the right mindset, with the right perspective, choosing the right perspective. So let's use it now. First thing with the growth mindset and being able to put this into practice. If you're taking notes, I encourage you to take a few notes on the following. I'm going to give you just a handful of pointers. We'll talk kind of generalities. And I believe George has a story teed up here. I'll do the best I can not to miss George's window with the right transition, but you have to be willing to embrace setbacks as opportunities. You have to. George and I learned a new skill set today. We didn't expect to know how to convert files in the manner that we had to learn. But guess what? Hey, high five, George. We got a new skill set because of the challenges established, because of the difficulties that we had to overcome. So setbacks, although it was a 2-hour inconvenience, we had to view that, and we are choosing to view that as an opportunity to grow. We got to be able to embrace challenges. Is this part of the learning process? There's no nice way or soft way to say it other than I'm going to give you the truth. Are you willing to take difficulties on the chin and be willing to take it as part of the process? If you're not, pick another sport. Guess what? You're going to run into the same issue. I don't care if you take up bowling. You're going to, and no hate on bowling. Seriously, that's a really hard sport. I've worked with some professional PBA. I don't know that acronym. I've worked with a few pros, and it's a hard sport. You want to take up golf? Even harder. Doesn't matter. But any sport or anything worth pursuing, you're going to run into difficulties, but you got to be willing to take them on the chin as part of the learning process. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down 2 of the most difficult things that you're currently encountering right now in sport. Write those 2 things down right now. It could be patterns. It could be movement. It could be your serve. It could be your grip. It could be your forehand. It could be your slice. It could be your drop shot. It could be reading the court, reading your opponent. It could be hitting through the ball and not pushing. Do I have to go on? The point is, every single one of us on this call is going to experience difficulty or struggle with at least 2 things right now. Write them down. Here's the next part. What's your mindset towards them right now? If I go back a few slides, are you in the fixed camp side of saying, man, I either can do it or I can't today? Are you on the, oh, well, this is just what I know? Or are you viewing things on like, bring it on? Yeah, this is tough, but I can persevere. I can do this. What's your self-talk like? What's the narrative inside? What lens of sunglasses do you have? And go one level deeper, my friend. Where's your belief at? Is your belief system on the side of, I can actually do this? Or are you just saying that because coach told you that and you have to repeat it out loud because Coach Henry made me say it? That ain't going to work, my friend. And Coach Henry's going to just bang his head against the racket. You said, come on. How many times do I have to? You have your job to play in this, my friend. And that is the inner belief. That's the deeper level of belief you are responsible of, nobody else. This is where it kicks in and it says, you are your own best mental coach. Got to let that kick in. So take a look. What are the 2 biggest challenges that you're struggling with right now? And then pay attention. Where's your sunglasses at? Are you on the side of growth, opportunity, bring it on, let's go, I love challenge, or on the side of, well, frustrated? If you're on the frustrated side, I want you to challenge your belief system right now. I'm not saying this lightly. I genuinely mean it. I want you to challenge your belief system, because a belief system can be changed with a little bit of evidence and a little bit of success and a little bit of hope and a lot of optimism, knowing I can get there. Put this into your vocabulary right now. Start saying the word yet. We don't even have time to get into the research and the studies on this, but hear me out on this. A lot of our internal narrative and language, when things get tough, we go to shutdown mode, natural default. This is a human thing. And if that's you by default, I challenge you, especially when it comes to matches, especially when you get into later rounds. I got this athlete in North Carolina right now. She's a bona fide D1 top blue chip Power 5 recruit. She's 15 years old. Sweet kid. Love her to death. But boy, when she gets deep into rounds of tournaments, she's had now bowed out from 3 tournaments. The last 3 tournaments in a row, she's bowed out of the semifinals. And she sends me audio messages after every match because I asked her to. And this last match, she kept telling her, saying out loud, Trevor, I don't know what's wrong with my game. I don't know why I can't get past this. I keep getting to the semis and I keep losing. I keep getting broke in my serve when pressure moments happen. I can't ever win a tiebreak. And you know what the whole crap behind this is? She just won 2 matches previously where she won 7-6, 7-6. And then before that, she won in the third set super 10-2 in a super tiebreak. The narrative and the belief kicked in. You know what? The one word that she hasn't learned yet, and I've been hammering this hard, the one word that would help challenge and change so much is the word yet. I haven't broke through yet, but I will. Because when you say yet, it's almost like there's a comma and you got to finish the sentence. When you say I can't win, period, congrats, high five, you just accepted failure. Might as well just call ourselves a failure. Might as well just give up. But when you put the word yet, there's a comma and there's a whole nother sentence that comes next. There's a whole nother belief that can come despite what happens below the surface in that iceberg, despite what happens above the surface. And that coach and that recruiting, they're not answering the phone. They're not calling you back. They're not giving you positive things. Doesn't matter. I haven't been recruited yet because I have to blank. Yet is a continuation, yet instills hope, yet changes the perspective, yet helps us put on a new pair of glasses. We look at the same situation, but when we say yet, we look at it differently. If this is you on the fixed mindset side, I encourage you, incorporate the word yet into your vocabulary like tonight, like 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. The second that you see the word yet, start using the word yet. And don't use it just only for tennis. Use it in every aspect of your life, including your academics. And without stressing it even further, we have to have a positive and optimistic mindset. And I think the most interesting element that you can apply, are you willing to outwork and out hustle your opponent? I think it gets overlooked a lot, especially in the mental space. Are you willing to outwork and out hustle your opponent? And if you think about it, here's a good way to think about this. When nothing's going right on court, can you turn into the most annoying person on that court when it comes to being the most difficult player to play against? I'm not telling you to lob. I'm not telling you to push. I'm not telling you to just be an ugly slicer. No. That's not what I'm saying. But can you be that person that runs and tracks everything down? Can you be that person that gets that one more ball back every time? Can you be that person that just you just become an annoying gnat that just won't go away? Because the harder you work, the luckier you get. The harder you work, the more opportunities will go in. And I'm just telling you, on the growth mindset side, it is all about working hard. There is no substitute for it. Sorry, no fluff tonight. There is no substitute to hard work. You got to be willing. So, are you willing to out hustle your opponent and be the annoying athlete on the other side? Again, I'm not talking cheating. I'm not talking chirping away. Are you willing to be that person that just doesn't give up? Oh, you're getting beaten 5-love in that match? I don't care how close or how far those games apart. Are you willing at 5-love not to conserve energy and willing to just be annoying and track everything down and put the pressure on them? Make them beat you. I've watched crazy things happen. I know George has too. Even at the pro level, I've watched crazy things happen. 0-5 or 5-love moments, and all of a sudden their serve breaks down. All of a sudden you hit the zone. All of a sudden a game plan starts working. All of a sudden they start missing long. Are you willing to outwork and out hustle your opponent? Because when you do, you put on the right glasses. No fluff tonight. Got to be real with you. Sometimes growth hurts. It's just painful. Don't believe me? Lose 3 matches, 4 matches, 7 matches in a row. I say that laughing because like I can relate. I started my senior year playing college baseball, hitting the number 3 spot on our team as the power hitter. And we started the year, the first 10 games of the season, I hit 3 for 37. That should get you benched. That should get you taken out of the lineup. You shouldn't even have a spot on the team if you're hitting 3 for 37. But the realisticness of this is I had 3 home runs robbed. I had balls in the gap that people dove for. I literally took 2 pitchers out of the game. One guy ended up going to the major leagues. That was cool. But I hit him right in the elbow, hit a line drive right up into his throwing arm. He throws, hits him right in the external part of the elbow, and he picks it up with his left hand, flips it over, and underhand to first base, and I'm out. I'm a really fast guy. I drag bunt, perfect bunt, and third baseman comes up looking like Hall of Famers. Like, telling you, sometimes growth hurts. Inevitably, you're going to have tough moments. You may lose your serve. You may face break point, cheaters, pushers, external coaching. We could go on. You're going to have difficult things. What glasses and what pair of glasses do you view it as? If you notice anything, you're going to see some consistency here. We got to embrace challenges as opportunities. To what? To learn. Yeah, I got a grimace on my face. Sorry, it doesn't taste good saying it. But part of being a resilient and a mentally tough athlete is you got to be willing to take those hits on the chin and say, let's go. I know that hurts. I know it's tough. But they beat me today. Coach, how did they beat me? Coach gives you the cold, hard facts. Are you going to take that as an opportunity to learn? Because if you do, you're being resilient. If you do, you have a growth mindset. If you do, you're using the word yet. I haven't figured out how to beat that style of gameplay yet. Are we willing to seek feedback? Oof, that strikes a nerve. Of all sports, by the way, this is interesting to me. I understand it, but I don't understand it. You lose a match, and I see this at the professional level. I could time those athletes, how fast they put their racket in the bag, how fast they throw that towel in the bag, and how fast they're going off the court. George, true or false? Pro athletes, they're off that court in under 45 seconds.
Not true. Probably even sooner sometimes.
I see that all the way down to the junior level, and oftentimes we're parroting that based on what we've seen on TV. And a winner, yeah, they take their time. Take some water. Like, I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying your sport is one of the most odd sports. how we immediately just jump off the court, get off the court. Any other sport, even the individual sports, we have a process time. And part of that is we have to be willing to seek feedback. I see a lot of athletes, they storm off and they need their space, their time, and they're angry, and they're upset, and they're, well, guess what? A lot of tennis matches and tournaments, especially the junior level, you're playing in the next hour. You're like, if you're on the consolation bracket now you're playing in the next hour or two. Yeah, you may have a little bit of a gap in the time. And listen, I'm with you that you need to have a little bit of time process. But if you're just storming off the court, are you really viewing that as growth mindset? But Trevor, how could you say that? You never played tennis. Yes, you're right. Congratulations. I haven't, but I've worked with hundreds, maybe 1,000, I don't know yet, tennis players. And I'll tell you what, the best ones that respond to difficulties are controlled and composed even when they walk off the court. Yeah, they're frustrated, perhaps at the outcome. And they give themselves a 5-minute little moment, a 3-minute moment, a 10-minute moment. It's not much. They give themselves a minute to process. One of my best coaching suggestions is go to the locker room, change your clothes, change your socks, rinse some water in your face, take a moment, come out, let that match go, and seek feedback. Be willing to learn. What can you add to your game? What can you change in your game right now? 1, 2 things tops. If you're playing another match that day, what's 1 or 2 things that you can do right now that's going to change the trajectory of the next match? Are we willing to seek feedback? Tough, I know. You just lost. Things didn't go well. You didn't play like you've been practicing all week. I know. Don't shoot me. Don't hate me. I'm just telling you, are we willing to be objective and seek feedback? Persistence wins a lot. Whew, a lot. Are we willing to be that difficult person that you don't want to play against? And trust me, you're not going to win everything. And sometimes growth is painful. If you've ever experienced growing pains, my mom, I had really bad growing pains behind my knees growing up. And my mom always just says, "Oh, but Trevor, it's okay. See, this means that your muscles are growing, your bones are growing, you're going to get bigger, you're going to be strong." Mom, it hurts. You're always better on the other side. It may not feel like it in the moment, but you're better because of the adversity that you go through. But you got to maintain the right glasses. You got to maintain the right belief. I think the biggest and most underrated thing here is you got to celebrate the little wins. You got to celebrate them. And there's a really big belief that we have at Hearts and Minds. Small progress is progress. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Okay. Are we willing to take small wins and small victories when we get them? Within our team, we practice this and we intentionally do it. Building toughness, 3 things I want you to really focus on. Self-reflection. Here's what I want you to, this is what this would look like. If you don't have a match journal, get one. After your match, I want you to write down 3 objective things. I want you to write down 2 things. What did you do well? 2 things. What can you do better? 2 things. What did you learn? Can you reflect objectively? Write down, what did I do well today? Oh, Trevor, there's nothing that went well. Find something. I don't care. Did you tie your shoes good? Yeah, okay. Hey, did you have enough water for the match? Hey, there you go. There you go. You had enough water bottles. I don't care. Find 2 things. And the reason why is because it engages the optimistic side of your brain, giving you a chance to practice optimism, giving you the chance to practice growth mindset. I literally have had a football player, a quarterback before, where he's like, Trevor, I threw 3 interceptions. This isn't the first half of the game. He's thrown 3 interceptions. The team total yards is like 30 yards. The coach is about to put in he's about to put in the second string. And coach comes over to me. He's like, hey, Trev, what do you think? I said, man, give him 1 more possession. I think he's got this. I go over to him. I say, hey, give me 2 things that's going well right now. And he's like, man, I'm trying. I said, look down. What do you see in your shoe? And he's like, man, I tied my shoe really well. I said, so you did that good, right? He's like, yeah. And he starts laughing and he lightened up. I don't care if nothing is going well that day, but you tied your shoe well. I don't care. You got to hunt the good stuff. You got to find and look for the good things. And growing that sometimes is painful. Growing that is not convenient. It just isn't. But you got to be willing to go there where you don't necessarily want to go. 2 things you did well, 2 things you did better that you need to do better, 2 things you learned. If you get consistent at this after a match, I almost guarantee you usher in the growth mindset that is required to help you persevere. Next one, goal getting. We talk about this within our team and athletes. I don't like the term goal setting. I like goal getting because goals are something worth attaining and going after and pursuing. A lion doesn't set a goal to kill an impala or a whatever that they hunt, wildebeest. They don't just set a goal. No, they flip and wake up and they go get that. And if they don't, they go hungry. They don't just set it. They don't just hope for it. No. They pursue it. They hunt it. Are you hunting your goals? What glasses you have on? What's your belief drawing you to them? Are they realistic? Can you measure them? And I think it's very important, if you're taking notes, highlight this. Make sure you're chasing progress and not perfection. Last one, condition your mind. How do you condition it? Practice. So visualize. Use the neutral self-talk that we talked about. Tilt it towards positive. Have the belief geared in the right direction. Biggest one, incorporate breathing. When I was out there in Salt Lake City, I hope you guys saw this and remember this. But if I could teach one mental skill, and that is the importance of breathing, make sure you're breathing, incorporating everything that you're using. There are 4 elements in order to become a tougher athlete. First, you got to learn. That's education. Then you got to put it to work. That's applying it. Then you practice. Number 4, lean on us for support. Let us know how can we help. 4 elements. What we covered tonight was a little bit of education, but we talked a lot about how to use this in real time. Now, tomorrow, you got to put this into practice. You got to put this into practice. So tonight we learned, tomorrow you practice. So start leaning into these challenges. And I think that this applies to so many of us, not just on this call, those of us not on the call too. In regards to our goals and the things that we're chasing, oftentimes, my friends, we are so much closer than what we actually realize to our goals. We're so much closer to having our breakthrough moments. And sometimes it comes down to simple things of changing the internal narrative, the mindset inside, and using a word like yet. Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes all it takes is having the awareness of saying, I'm not good at taking feedback after a match, but I'm going to change. Sometimes it really comes down to a belief in putting on the right glasses. I'm firmly in belief that many of us on this call and those that are watching, you're much closer to your breakthrough moment than what you actually realize. And with that, we'll pause. Questions, comments. How can we help? How can I help? How can George help? So here's 2 open questions. If nobody has a question off the top of their head, I've got one for you. Which is the most difficult part in your world, in your mindset, in your view, to being a more resilient and dominant growth minded athlete? Like, what is the one or two things? I think I'm pretty sure I asked, write down two of the biggest struggles in your game. What are one or two of those that spoke the loudest to you? If you can, drop it in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. We got a small group. Feel free. I have a private message that just came in, said, getting down on myself when the results are not going my way. Another private one just came in. Somebody else says, not wanting to disappoint mom and dad. Whew. Let's attack that one. The only way to not disappoint mom and dad, I'd venture to guess, is to just give up. If you give up, you're giving up on yourself. I'd much rather an athlete do the absolute best they can, get blistered 0-0 on court because you just got overpowered. But as long as you're doing the absolute best that you can, majority of parents across the country that we work with and we see and observe, they are supportive of athletes when they're doing the absolute best they can. You're playing a difficult sport, though. I get it. Sometimes the ball just flies. Sometimes the ball doesn't go the way that we train. And sometimes the pace or the spin of your opponent's ball is something that it takes a whole match to get used to. So there's a lot of variables. Okay, Coach Henry says, why is it so hard to let go and not be the yet person? Coach, can you expand on that a little bit? Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, sorry. I was going to write it down, but I see so many kids that are trying to do so hard themselves, but every time there's a minimum failure for that one moment in time, they prolong it and they take it to the next point, to the next point, to the next point. There's no way for them to break that unless they hit a good shot or the other person is not playing as well. Does that make sense?
I think so. Let me attempt to answer it. I got three ways to answer it. Let me just no fluff, no BS, straight to the heart.
Sure.
Shot, no chaser kind of an answer, like straight to the heart of it. And
yeah,
the heart of the answer is that athlete is controlled by the outcome.
Point yes, exactly.
And the danger in that is you're literally giving yourself over to something that you have virtually zero control over. You cannot control with any level of certainty. When I say certainty, I'm talking 100%. You cannot control what happens to that ball once it leaves your racket. And the
Correct.
athletes that cannot reset are the athletes that are being controlled by the wrong things. They have they've got fractures in their mental toughness foundation. The best way to fill that is coming back to the concept of ACE, coming back to understanding and realizing, like, listen, we can chase progress here and we can chase doing good things, but the goal is not to be perfect. We can't allow ourselves to chase perfection and only be perfect. We want progress. And hey, by the way, you're going to miss time to time. And when you miss, here's how I want you to respond. I want your attitude to say, so what? So what I missed, now what should I do next? Okay, well, I got to really brush up higher or more racket speed because I'm hitting too flat. It doesn't matter what it is, but the internal dialogue, first of all, is from a belief standpoint, you got to disconnect that you can control the result. You got to disconnect that. Second part is you got to replace it with the right language in the head, because if we don't replace it, the negative circumstance the language is naturally going to fill in.
Correct. So I've been using the ACE with a lot of the kids that I have taught ACE to, attitude, concentration, effort. And I said, just pick one of those. And I've seen it help a lot.
Yeah. I think the easiest one is effort. It's just me. I think the best one, bar none, is the attitude one. But the easiest one to implement, even for a very beginning, first time you've ever heard that kind of a thing, is effort. And the reason why is because we're more in tune with our body and like, okay, I got to run harder, or I got to chase after that ball further.
Right.
I'm going to run that down, even though I don't want to. I'm going to run it down regardless. And like, you build up that reflex of reaction of like how you're going to play. Effort, I believe, is the easiest one to implement right away, but attitude, bar none, is the best one to implement. So,
agreed.
Take it for what it's worth.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Coach Azad, I see you in here. What's up, man? Any other questions?
Hey, how you doing, Trevor?
Good, brother. Good to see you. Any other questions that we can answer? I can answer. George can answer. Hey,
I think Trevor, sorry. I think the biggest one that I like that you mentioned is the one how the kids struggle to play in a match and compared to how they practice, that they struggle out a lot. Like the being realistic that it's not their day and that's okay, and having to just figure crap out on their own. As much as you hate to admit that yesterday you're hitting the cleanest ball and today is not that day, I think just that, and then it comes with maturity obviously as well, but just I think that was like the biggest thing is that like it's okay to have a bad day, just see what else works.
Yeah, I love that. And that's great preparation for tournaments because it's inevitable you're gonna have a tournament like that. But with that right mindset, as you're talking about, is I was like, hey, keep searching for solutions, keep finding out like what we need to do to what works today, and sometimes, man, like it is straight up Brad Gilbert style, win ugly. Play ugly, win ugly, survive and advance. So that is resilience. Absolutely. I had a private message just came in and says, are we doing the meetings on Tuesday from now on? I don't know. Should we? What do you guys think? Does Tuesdays work better than Sundays? I need some feedback now. Drop it in the chat. What would you guys prefer? Sundays, Tuesdays, or do you guys have another day in mind? "100% Tuesday," somebody said. Okay, there's one. Do I have a second? Sundays. Somebody said Sundays. Okay. We could do two. Somebody said Tuesday. All right.
I think Tuesday is like even today, like at work, like, oh, okay, I have a meeting after. I think it's easier to remind kids and parents. I think the Sunday one is tough, at least just from a coach's perspective.
Okay, great feedback. We've Coach Carl out of the club. Hang on here. Hang on. Any other questions I can answer real fast? So I'm going to end the recording. Nope. Speak now.